Welcome to the Real World Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us here. We are all about movies, so if you're a movie fan, you're in the right place. Today, we're talking about The Karate Kid. The new film, Karate Kid Legends, is now in theaters, so we're going to be reviewing that film. We're going to review all the movies, and then we're going to give you our ranking of all the movies at the end of the podcast. Joining me on this episode is Bert. How you doing, man?
Hey Cam, glad to be back. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm doing well. Glad to have you back. It's been a while, but we've been gearing up for this big Karate Kid podcast for a while. It's a franchise we've not covered on the podcast yet, and so we're excited to dive in. So let's get started. Thank you so much for joining us again. Make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified of all our videos. We're movie fanatics, like I said, so we're constantly at the movie theater, watching stuff at home. We've got a huge physical media collection you can see behind me. And so we're always talking movies here on the Real World YouTube channel. And so make sure you follow us on social media as well. Bert and I are both on Letterboxd, so those links are in the description down below. But today, again, like I mentioned up top, we're talking all about The Karate Kid. This is a franchise that's been around over 40 years. It started in 1984, so last year was its 40th anniversary. It's an interesting story, the origin story of The Karate Kid. Started all with a producer who found this news story in the news about a kid who was bullied and learned karate to defend himself. And he thought, man, that's a great idea for a movie. So he kind of took it from there and hired this writer named Robert Mark Kamen, who wrote the first film under the title The Karate Kid Project. Eventually, they asked him, hey, we've got to have a title for this movie. What's it called? And he just dropped the project. He said, it's The Karate Kid. And they said, that's not a title, but it's stuck. It's very memorable. I think it's a great title. You know, any title with alliteration like that is, I think, a really, really
Yeah.
smart way to go. So, yeah, it's stuck. And look, these are just kind of very modestly budgeted, really dramas. I mean, it's kind of how I look at them. It's very much modeled after Rocky, the Rocky franchise, and you actually have the
Yeah.
same director from the original Rocky, John G. Avildsen, directing the first three Karate Kid movies, which is pretty neat. So shares a lot in common with Rocky. It's kind of this underdog story. Of course, it's about a younger character, a teenager, and I think they did a great job. These are kind of not these big budget action extravaganzas, but yet it's a franchise that I think has stood the test of time because it's so relatable. It's just such a simple
Yeah.
story and it's so engaging. And anyone can kind of relate to it. So it's been around a long time. It's still going strong. Like I mentioned, Karate Kid Legends now in theaters, starring both Jackie Chan, who's in the remake of The Karate Kid from 2010, and Ralph Macchio, the original Karate Kid, as well as a new actor, new cast. And we'll be talking about that one later. We're going to go in order, kind of talking about each one of these. But Bert, give me your background with The Karate Kid. Did you see this in theaters when it first came out? What was your experience?
I did not see it in theaters. Saw it on video. I was pretty young. I mean, I think I was probably 11, 12, 13, something like that, the first one.
Hmm.
And boy, just remember how visceral just the Johnny was just so scary to me. Like
Yeah.
the thought of, trying to fight someone like that. It's just so well acted.
Yeah, yeah.
And and then over the years, watched it many times, and it's one of those that you start quoting the lines, and so
Yes.
it just works its way into your life.
Right.
And then I think I probably saw part two in the theaters,
Oh, okay.
probably not part three, and then the next Karate Kid, I remember seeing
Mm.
that one,
Oh, okay.
and liked it in the theater,
Okay.
and then yeah, then went to see Legends, 2 days ago.
Nice.
So that's been my experience. Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say, I'm interested, like always. I don't look at your reviews ahead of time because
Right.
I want to be sort of surprised because I don't know which way it's gonna go. But
Right.
there's definitely some highs and lows in this series. I'm a big fan of the
Yeah.
series,
Me too.
but there are some not great moments.
Hmm.
So I'm curious, where you land on some of those too.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be a fun conversation. I, like you, I think saw the first one on video when I was pretty young.
Mm,
I don't exactly remember the first time I watched it, but I just remember it kind of
yeah.
always being there in the
Right.
background. And I must have seen part
Like
two at
Miyagi.
some point. Yeah, exactly, right? Um, the funny thing is the earliest memory I really have, distinct memory at least, is watching part three on television. For some
Oh,
reason, it played a lot on TV when I was younger. And so that's might be the one I've seen the most,
really?
which is interesting. And so, but I hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
I hadn't really watched any of these. I think the first one I've probably seen the most now, but I hadn't really rewatched all of them like in order like this in a long time. So it felt pretty fresh going into a lot of these. Um, I didn't realize that there was also an animated series
Really?
that lasted like only 13 episodes
Oh, wow.
back in like 1989, 90, somewhere around there.
Oh,
You can find the episodes on YouTube. I watched one of the episodes. It's kind of fun, but really interesting. Yeah, it's one of those franchises that kind of unexpectedly took off and became this big phenomenon, and
yeah,
really, I mean, made karate popular in the U.S. I mean, it wasn't really that popular until this film came
right,
out. Now there's karate dojos all over every corner. It seems like there's a karate place you can learn martial
right.
arts at. So yeah, really interesting. And yeah, I got to see both um, the Karate Kid remake with Jackie Chan in theaters and this latest one. Those are the only two I've seen in theaters. All the rest were on video. But yeah, I got to again rewatch them all this week. I've got the whole collection here on Blu-ray. And so I got to dive into some bonus features, which is always fun, kind of learn about the making of the movies and that kind of thing. So I think we're ready to dive in. Are you ready to jump in with the first movie?
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing about the
Yeah.
series itself, because it is a bit unique. There's a lot of series where you might have, like the Alien series, you might have a movie that comes along every few years or a
Hmm.
spin-off, but this
Hmm.
one took a little bit of a different route. It kind of did the sequel thing for a while and then disappeared, right? For like
Yeah.
2 decades or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it comes
Right.
back with a reboot and
Uh-huh.
then a really long television series, and then followed by
Yes. Yes.
another movie that combines. It's very different than
Yeah.
most movie series that we get.
That's true. It's been a very unique journey for this franchise. So yeah, and we can mention some of the TV stuff too if you want to. I don't know how much
Yeah,
you've seen of
we
that,
should.
but we'll dive into it. All right, well, let's kick things off with The Karate Kid, 1984, June 22nd, 1984, almost exactly 41 years ago. Runtime of 2 hours, 7 minutes, budget of 8 million, and it ended up grossing over 130 million. So this is a huge hit.
Wow.
Like I said, very modest budget, even for the 80s. 8 million is very low. Um, and so, yeah, like I mentioned, John G. Avildsen, lightning struck twice with this guy. I mean, just coming off of doing Rocky, he made this movie. It was funny. I was listening to the commentary on the first movie. It's got Ralph Macchio, Pat Morita, and the writer and the director on there. And I guess there was the scene where Daniel is learning balance out in the ocean. The waves are hitting him, and he's trying to stand up. And um,
Yeah.
he said the director said, "How's it out there?" He's like, "Yeah, it's pretty cold and it's a little rocky." And he goes, "Yeah, this movie is a little rocky. It's what a lot of people are saying because it's about a younger version of
Right.
Rocky, essentially."
That's
um,
funny.
so yeah, it's fun though. It's a fun kind of dramatic uh, teen rom-com mixed with this sort of martial arts action film. It's a really
Yeah.
interesting blend of all
Yeah.
kinds of
Yeah.
different things. It's, the kind of formula for the franchise is, a kid moves to a new place and then he gets bullied, as kind of the new kid. And then he has to learn how to defend himself and learn all these life lessons along the way. So that's the kind of premise of the Karate Kid, as we see in the remake and the new film, kind of follows that's kind of similar pattern. Um, there are a couple of other people from the Rocky franchise. James Crabb, who is the director of photography for Rocky, he's the director of photography on this film as well. And Bill Conti, the composer, who composed that great Rocky theme, also composed the music for the Karate Kid film. So we got a couple of people coming over from the Rocky franchise here. And again, it captures that same idea of this underdog spirit. The haves and have-nots are a little bit mixed in there as well. The kind of very wealthy and those
Hmm.
kids, and they don't mingle with the kids
Yeah.
from this other part of town. That kind of thing is kind of sprinkled in there. But it's just a perfect kind of coming of age tale. It's sort of one of the best I think ever told on screen. It's very simple, but again, like I said, it's very relatable. So easy to relate to these characters, and it's just a lot of fun to watch. It's very funny. There's a lot of funny moments throughout it as well. Some great humor. beautifully shot. I think that there's some sequences, especially the training montage, just really looks great. It's
Yes.
just this great music over these great images of him training, and all
Hmm.
shot in Southern California. It just looks really good. But it's really more about character. It's really more about character and the story and the growth of the character than it is about the action and the fight scenes. The action and fight scenes are good, don't get me wrong, but it's not like the highlight of the movie necessarily for me. It's really all about the characters. Pat Morita, as I mentioned, um, American actor, but of Japanese descent, and he, of course, got to start on Happy Days. Everyone knows him from that, who's watched that show. But playing a vastly different character, that was kind of a very funny, kind of silly character. And Miyagi has a little has humor, but he's very kind of serious and very wise and very calm and cool, and so it's a really great performance from this actor. I think he does a great job in the role. He actually received a Best Supporting Actor nomination at the Oscars for this
Oh, I
role,
didn't even know
which
that.
yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty
Doesn't
amazing.
surprise me.
Yeah, I know. It's such a great performance, stands out so much. And of course, Ralph Macchio, we can't go without mentioning the Karate Kid himself. He's again just such a naturally gifted actor. I feel like he's been acting since he was very young. He's in The Outsiders the year before this. Some other great things that he's been in. Crossroads is a movie I really like that he's in. But he does a great job as well. Very confident character. He's got kind of an edge to him. He's a little bit rebellious, and but he's eager to learn. He wants to learn from this wise mentor figure that he has. Elizabeth Shue's in there, does a great job as sort of the love interest. Martin Kove as John Kreese, who's sort of the leader of the Cobra Kai. Pretty scary guy, pretty big, imposing guy. William Zabka, as you mentioned, as Johnny, is a great villain. And we'll get into Cobra Kai later and how it kind of shifts thing, and we see things from his perspective a bit more, which is really interesting. People have talked about this for a while, like Daniel LaRusso is really the bad guy, that whole
Yeah, yeah.
idea, which is kind of funny. And then Randy Heller as Lucille LaRusso, the mom. I think she's great too. She really
Sure.
has some
Yeah.
great moments in
Lots of
there.
fun.
Yeah, she's really relatable and fun, and kind of an interesting character as well. So it's a really well-rounded cast. Um, Iconic lines like you mentioned, wax on, wax off. All of these kind of idioms that have made it into the modern vernacular that are just kind of part of our daily life. You don't even have to have seen Karate Kid to know what these things mean, which is kind of crazy to think about. But again, it comes down to that relationship between Daniel and Miyagi. I think that's the core of the film. That's what makes it work so well, especially the scene where, he's drunk and he's talking about his past, and that whole scene where that kind of vulnerability comes out, and where those
Yeah.
characters really connect. Really, really an incredible movie. I think it's really well done. And of course, the ending, at the tournament, that huge fight scene and the crane kick and the whole thing, the moment behind you right now that we're looking at, it's iconic. It's an iconic scene. Just that moment, I feel like is kind of so memorable and in everyone's head who's seen the movie. So those are some of my thoughts on it. I'll give you my rating later. But Bert, what do you
Hmm.
think about this first Karate Kid movie? I think it's a classic.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Some of these will be sort of a little bit like what you talked about, but I got to just double down on it. It's
Sure.
got the low budget charm. It's would you say the budget was 8 million or
8 million,
something?
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, yeah. And this is a great script,
Hmm.
and then the actors you mentioned all of them, but Shu and Ralph Macchio have some good chemistry, I think.
Yeah.
There's a great score,
Hmm.
especially the pan flute bits, which are very simple,
Yes.
but work very
Yeah. It
well.
has that kind of East meets West vibe
Hmm.
of like a big, score for like a Rocky movie or something, but then adding in that sort of Eastern flair with the flute and that kind of thing
Hmm.
that it adds a special touch to it.
Yeah, and some great needle drops too. And it's one of
Oh,
those
sure.
you got both. You got great score, great
Right.
needle drops. Especially if
Uh-huh.
you don't. I mean, there could be people that hate '80s songs, so there's that too. I mean,
Sure.
I kind of grew up in that era, so
Right,
they're
right.
great to me. And that's interesting about the director of photography because I noticed a lot of great shot setups in this film, and
Yep.
I should mention too, as far as you mentioned the bullying aspect. Is there a better school bully movie out there? I mean,
It's
there's
the
bits in some
best.
of the Spider-Man films,
Sure,
but they're just
sure.
bits, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
man, I don't know if there's one better than this as far as
No.
everything that's involved.
It's great.
Uh, yeah, and then Pat Morita, uh, being Mr. Miyagi being the surrogate dad for him, I think is really
Mm,
big too,
yeah.
because uh, you know, uh, Daniel loses his dad when he's 8, and then he
Hmm.
doesn't want to move. Like all this bad stuff's happening, and then Mr. Miyagi's there just at the right time to
Hmm.
kind of save his life and that kind of
Yeah.
thing at one point. But to teach him a lot too. His Miyagi-isms, like you mentioned, one or two of them. But the serious ones like le lesson not just about tournament, lesson about whole life, right?
Mm,
And then there's
yes.
funny ones like never been attacked by a tree, Buddha provide. I mean, like there's a lot of funny ones too. So there's both.
Sure.
It's not just that he's serious, and it's not just that he's a comedian.
Yeah,
A lot of
yeah.
variety there. I totally get why he would be nominated for this role. That's great.
Right, right.
And then William Zabka, I've become a huge fan of this guy, and I'll tell you what, he seems to know karate better than anybody in that movie. If I'll be a
Yeah.
little bit critical, and it's not a knock, honestly, Pat Morita, I looked it up. He apparently didn't really know karate. I'm not sure how much training he did. When I was a kid, I thought that scene where he comes out and rescues Daniel and kicks, the butts of all the kids. I thought it was tremendous, and it's still a great scene. But if
Sure.
you actually look at the karate that's taking place, not so great. But that's okay.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's okay. None of that really matters.
Sure.
It's the fact that he stepped in and that
Hmm.
happened.
Hmm.
But Zabka, I mean, that guy, and he really did train, of course, and so
Yeah.
did Ralph Macchio. But
Hmm.
Zabka's pretty scary and excellent,
Yeah.
and Martin Cove too, as you mentioned. So
Hmm.
that final crane kick. It's just so satisfying.
Yeah.
I'll talk a little bit about some of the other conclusions that
Sure.
involve a
Sure.
tournament throughout the
Right.
series. This one's
Hmm.
the best. Nothing tops
Yeah.
the crane kick.
Yep.
Everyone was doing it, at the time.
Right. Right.
And you still can do it if you want. I won't do it now, but what a satisfying ending to that movie.
That should be our thumbnail for the video, is doing the crane.
Maybe, yeah.
Right. Um, yeah, excellent stuff. Totally agree with all that. Yeah, like I said, that first one, it kicked off the franchise for a reason, right? I mean, it's because it's just that good. It's just such a good movie, such a great crowd pleaser. And so it stood the test of time and still to this day holds up very, very well. Um, all right, let's move into The Karate Kid Part 2, released June 20th, 1986. So almost exactly 2 years later. They fast tracked the sequel. Of course, the first one made so much money that there was no way they weren't going to attempt the sequel.
Yeah.
And fortunately, they got the same director back. So John G. Avildsen is back, director of photography, composer, all come back. Of course, Ralph Macchio, Pat Morita are back as well. This one has a runtime of hour and 53 minutes. Budget significantly higher, 12.5 million. So they do get more of a budget to work with, and the gross was right there at 130 million again. So it was a big hit once again. I like that, this film picks up exactly where part one left off. I mean, literally,
Yeah.
they're leaving the tournament, and then they have that whole confrontation in the parking lot, which plays into the third film. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But it was cool to see that. It was cool because
Hmm.
Ralph Macchio, he's kind of known as being ageless. Like even still, he kind of looks like he's like only like 20 years old. And it's funny, he was, I think, if I remember right, I should have written it down. He was in his 20s when he shot the first one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, he looks
No
like
kidding.
yeah, it's crazy.
Huh.
I think he was right at 19 or 20 when he shot that first movie. And so, but he's kind of, again, playing the same age because he looks the same, so it doesn't really matter. And so
Yeah.
they pick it up right there. And then we go into the news story in Okinawa. So we get to finally visit um, Mr. Miyagi's home place. And it's a really cool idea. I like the change of scenery. I think that was a
Hmm.
really smart move.
Filmed in
Um,
Hawaii, right?
Filmed in Hawaii, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Doubling for
Yeah.
Okinawa. Yep. Yep. It was all filmed in Hawaii.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it looks great. And I like that again that the focus is in on these two characters. We want to get to know them better. Obviously, the focus is even more on Miyagi than Daniel this time. And so we get to go into his past, these past relationships he's had, his family history, all of that stuff. It's really fascinating. I find it really compelling. Um, and this story it is darker. It's certainly a kind of more intense tale. It's not really about bullying. It's about literally their lives being threatened, really the whole village being
Yeah.
threatened. So it feels like a bigger story. It feels more dangerous. The villains are a little more sadistic, like they're really out for blood here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I appreciate them upping the ante with all that stuff. I think that actually works really well. It's a story about revenge, honor, guilt, remorse, forgiveness, and redemption. I really like that. The bad guy Sato here, he kind of has a total change of heart. By the end of the movie, they're friends again. That's kind of what you're hoping the whole time because this whole history of them being friends and this falling out they had, and so it's a really satisfying conclusion with Miyagi and with his whole story. I think Daniel's story, unfortunately, kind of suffers for it. It kind of feels a lot like a rehash of, he moves to a new place, he's getting
Yeah.
bullied
Yeah.
again, he's got a new love interest. Like it's sort of just remaking the first movie with Daniel's side of things. So that was a little bit of a letdown for me. I think again, what saves it is the villains. Chosen, I think, is a great villain. It's
Hmm.
sort of a very scenery chewing performance we get from that actor, but I think he does a good job with it. And again, we get to deepen the relationship of Daniel and Miyagi, them talking a lot about their fathers. It's all about Miyagi's father passing away and how Daniel's kind of helping Miyagi through that because he's been through that already. So it's a really great story. Again, I feel like I really get the connection with those characters a lot. And I feel like it does a lot to progress the characters forward and develop them. So I really like part two. I think part two is a really solid sequel. It doesn't quite reach the highs of the first one, like you mentioned. I think especially when it comes to the ending and the whole drum technique idea. It's like a cool idea that I don't think is executed so well. Um, so while it's not as good as the first, I think it's a really solid ending. It has a pretty exciting ending, and it's a different thing again because it's the stakes are higher. Um, so I appreciate this movie a lot and what it tried to do. It doesn't nail everything, but I think it gets the important parts right. So what do you think about part two, Bert? What are your thoughts on this?
We had a very similar experience.
Okay.
If you love the first one, then
Yeah.
this one's kind of a treat because you
Yeah.
get a lot more of the same. Yeah, it
Hmm.
doesn't take a lot of risks per se, but on one hand it does because it's not another uh, movie set in America and and
Right.
whatnot. But I think it's to its benefit
Yeah.
and more backstory. Very
Hmm.
compelling. It's all in on the feels, this
Hmm.
one,
Yeah.
and Hawaii's beautiful.
Yeah.
Some of the rescue scenes are a bit over the top, and you mentioned it's a little bit cheesy. So,
Yeah.
and that the ending, the first time I watched this, I thought it was going to be something as epic. And that's the problem, right, with the sequel
Yeah.
is
Sure.
when you got something that good, and it's not nearly as good, but not
Mhm.
still not terrible,
Yeah.
but yeah, a very quality sequel here.
Yeah, I agree. And I like, the bookend scenes here where we have Miyagi facing off against Kreese in the parking lot. And
Yeah.
I mean, he can just take him out and he shows him mercy. And
Hmm.
then Daniel has to do the same thing at the end. So it's a nice kind of full
Right.
circle narrative. And
Yes.
it plays into
Yes.
that whole Cobra Kai and shows no mercy, kind of
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
idea. So I like that a lot. I like that a
Yeah.
lot. So,
Yeah, it's all about the morality of having mercy on
yeah,
somebody. I mean, this goes throughout the entire series, including
yep,
Cobra Kai. So they
yep.
they always circle back to that, and it's
Hmm.
important. I mean,
It
it is a good
is.
life lesson.
It is. Yeah, especially when, most martial arts action movies don't really mention that. It's all about
Right.
taking out the bad guy.
Yeah, but
And
this
so the
humanizes it more.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes, absolutely agree. Excellent. Well, I think we're ready to move on to part three then. The
Yep.
Karate Kid Part 3, released June 30th, 1989. Runtime of 1 hour and 51 minutes. Again, same budget as Part 2, 12.5 million. This one, however, only grossed 38.9 million. So, big drop off from that $130 million gross of the first two. But again, much of the same team is back, same director, same composer, and of course Ralph Macchio and Pat Morita here together. Um, they go back to California here, so again, it's kind of like picking right back up. Although I think at this point Ralph Macchio is like 30 years old almost. Um, they're picking right back up with part three. They're getting off the plane. I like that shot of Kreese leaving and then them coming in. That's kind of a cool like moment there.
Hmm.
We get in a
Yeah.
single
Yeah.
shot. Um, so they're back in California. They're back kind of doing their thing. And here's why that first scene in part two comes back, is because Kreese has been humiliated. All the Cobra Kai's have left. Cobra Kai has to shut down. But his benefactor, we didn't know behind the scenes, Terry Silver was actually behind the whole thing.
Oh boy.
And so this character comes in, and Thomas Ian Griffith plays him. And this guy's all in. I mean, he's going way over the top with this performance.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
he's sadistic. I mean, this guy is
Hmm.
truly scary and insane. I mean, really. I mean, he needs to be
Yeah.
locked up.
Yeah.
But he's rich, so all is well. And so he's kind of our main baddie here, and he hires this young kid, Mike Barnes, this up and coming karate kid, to kind of torment Daniel. Essentially, the whole film is about them getting revenge on Daniel and Mr. Miyagi for their humiliation at the tournament at the end of the first movie. And so, they again are back in California. It again it kind of carries over that kind of darker tone of the second one, it being a whole kind of revenge story. Um, Pat Morita, unfortunately, as Mr. Miyagi, gets a little bit less to do here. It focuses again more on Daniel. And I think he has good character development in the film, but it's just like the execution isn't quite there. Um, I don't know. It didn't fully connect with me as much as the first two did. It tries to deepen their relationship, but it feels kind of surface level a little bit to me. A lot of the stuff here. So the villain again, it's sort of an acquired taste, I guess, if you're going to go along with the performance or not. I don't necessarily hate it, but it does seem a little over the top for me for this franchise, which is pretty grounded, and kind of feels like a cartoon villain almost. Like, so that's the struggle for me with this one. It again kind of rehashes a lot of the same formula. He doesn't really have a love interest. There's a girl in it, but they're really just friends. They don't really move past that, which I guess is a good move, that you're not exactly rehashing the first one again. But I don't know. There's a lot of this that falls flat. It does seem cheaper to me. I don't see the budget like I saw in the first two, like these big shots of
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
amazing landscape. A lot of it's shot on sets, and you can tell, and it just feels a little bit cheaper and kind of rushed, the whole production. So yeah, I'm not as hot on this third one. I think there's a lot of great stuff in it. I like all the bonsai tree stuff and like the whole Mr. Miyagi's new business he has and all that. I think that's kind of like a cool idea. Um, Again, I think it's just the whole production just didn't quite mesh. I feel like did they spend all their budget on bonsai trees? Like what what happened here? I don't know. I don't know what exactly happened. But again, I think it does have a fun ending. Again, a tournament, kind of mirroring the first film in many ways, but being a little bit different. So I found it to be a satisfying conclusion to the relationship of Miyagi and Daniel, but just overall the movie didn't wow me as much as the first two. So what are your thoughts on part three here, Bert?
Similar thoughts, but I liked it, I think, even less than you did.
Mm,
I mean, you literally, the very words I put in some of my notes are the things that you said, just over the top. It's like so
yeah.
far over the top.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the director greenlit that and said, no, I want more or something. I don't
Right.
know. And so, I mean, they are trying something different here again. So
Yeah.
that's, you got to do that.
Sure.
But I don't know that this is what you want to end up with. The bonsai tree stuff, to me, it wasn't bad. It just felt kind of episodic, like on today's
Yeah.
episode of Karate Kid, we're gonna go,
Right. That's a good
down to this
point.
gully and find a bonsai tree. And
Yeah.
I don't know, it didn't really work for me at all. And then
Yeah.
the very final fight to me was kind of boring and a
Mm,
long way off from from part one or two, kind of fell
sure.
off as well.
Yeah.
And so I really don't like this movie. And
Mm,
even more than that, I don't like the trajectory of where the series was going at this point. So
mm.
that's where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. In that I guess it's hard with a franchise. You're trying to think of that original audience and how they're growing up, and
Hmm.
Daniel's growing
Hmm.
up. So you want to go darker, but feel like you go too dark and you alienate that audience at the same time. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's tough. It's a tough balancing act, and I don't think they quite pulled it off here. Again, a lot of it I enjoy, but there's certain elements of it that just really fall flat for me too. So definitely diminishing returns here with part three.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, let's jump to the fourth film. The Next Karate Kid, released August 12th, 1994. Hour and 47-minute runtime, budget of 12 million, so pretty much right in line with part two and three. Grossed only 15.8 million.
Ooh.
It's a huge bomb. Man, yeah, the appetite was not there for another Karate Kid, which they should have seen from part three, you would think. I mean, it had been, I guess, 5, 6 years since that one, but yeah, they gave it another stab, another try. Christopher Kane comes in to direct. New writer comes in, Mark Lee. Bill Conti does return to compose the score, so at least we have another good score. And of course, Pat Morita's back. But bye bye to Daniel San, and hello to Julie San. Hilary Swank in her breakout role before she won Oscars and done all that stuff. She was the next Karate Kid, and so that's what we have here. Is it's a whole new sort of story picking up. I like that we start with Miyagi being honored as a war veteran, which is a true story, by the way. All the stuff about that division of
Oh,
Japanese
really?
soldiers being the most decorated soldiers, that's an incredible feat, and I'm glad they recognized that. I think that's cool to bring that reality into the story. And apparently, there was a senator, Daniel Inouye, who had a cameo in the beginning of this movie, who was a real senator, and so that was kind of neat too. So again, nice continuity with Miyagi here. I like the connection between Miyagi and Julie's grandfather that they make there, that they were war buddies. And so I think all that works. I think all the setup is great for this movie. I think it continue again, it feels like a continuation, but it feels fresh and new at the same time. Um, uh, Julie as a character, I think is great. I really like her. She's very rebellious. She's very kind of self-absorbed character, but that just makes the arc so much stronger. I mean, by the end, and you have her and Miyagi with this really great connection that they end up making as he's kind of mentored her over the course of this movie. I think it just makes the movie better, really. Even though she's a little annoying at the beginning. So I like her. I like her performance. The villains here are, to me, probably the weakest part. It's kind of this ROTC military high school group, which is kind of strange. Michael Ironside, I always like him. He's always a good bad guy. So he's great. I do like her buddy Eric here too. Chris Conrad plays this character Eric, who's sort of the love interest. I really like his character a lot. He's kind of very altruistic, kind of heroic guy. Um, but again, it's the relationship here, and I think it's going to come down to whether you buy into it. I totally bought into it. I loved, boys easier. I love that whole thing of like, man, Miyagi has his work cut out for him this time. I mean, it's a struggle to get this girl to listen and to kind of be mentored. I think the whole monastery angle is really interesting and cool. I actually really like that. There's a lot of funny moments there that I wasn't expecting. I think I'd only seen this movie one time before today, or before this week, before watching it. And I really enjoyed it. I was really surprised by how much I actually liked this movie. I thought it was fun. I thought it was funny. I thought the action was pretty good in it. Um, I like the whole Hawk idea, which is very strange at first, but it ends up really playing into her story of like her letting her anger go and being free from all of her grief, and like there's all this really interesting inner turmoil that Julie has that Daniel really doesn't have much of. So I felt almost stronger connection to her and her character arc, even than Daniel LaRusso's, which I was just again very surprised by. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It's very much about growth, and I felt like there was a lot of growth with her character here. And so I'm glad the ending wasn't another tournament. They stayed away from that. That was, I think, a smart move, actually. So, yeah, a lot to like here for me. As someone who again, I watched it a while back. Didn't remember really liking it. I might have seen it on TV, and I was much younger, so really basically had never seen it. So it was like watching a totally new movie, and pleasantly surprised. Maybe because of how weak part three was, I liked it a lot more than that, at least. Um, but yeah, I thought it was really fun and a really solid kind of continuation of the story, a unique way to continue it. So those are my thoughts on the next Karate Kid.
Well, Cam, you make some fair points about this film. Um, I didn't entirely hate it, but there's a lot. The problem is there's too much I dislike in this film that
Mm,
it does not win me over.
mm.
The whole setup for why Miyagi is watching this girl is pretty bizarre. I mean, her great
True.
aunt, who's the only person in her life, just completely abandons her. And so I don't know why in the first film the mom could stick around, but in this one they said no, let's just wipe out her whole
Mm,
family.
yeah, yeah, good
And
point.
so
Yeah, they should have
and
just
so
left the ant there, and
yeah, yeah,
it could have had the same story with her there. I mean, I
it
guess
could
she's
have been.
so desperate. This child is so unruly. She has to get away. She doesn't care who babysits her. She's
Can you
got to go.
imagine? Yeah, some strange man that lives nearby. Um, yeah, so and I get she's been dealt a rough deck of cards. So was Daniel. But I didn't, I never found Daniel annoying per se because I kind of got it. And
Yeah.
with her, I just feel like the whole first act, I just want to, smack her a bit and
Yeah.
get her to stop because that's how annoying she kind of is.
Yeah.
So uh okay, so some of the stuff that I think is really not good at all is these bad guys like Michael Ironside. He's out there like openly striking students in public and stuff, and it's just no one even says anything or it's just that's okay.
Yeah.
It just like stuff like that just pulls me out of like I'm not even watching a movie here. It's like what is
Sure,
this? Come
sure.
on,
I gotcha. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right.
Of course, it was many years ago, and maybe that's less acceptable now and more acceptable then. I don't know.
Right.
But and also then the bad guys that are like following around, um, uh, Julie, is that her name?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're just incredibly assaulty. They're sort of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
way over the top with it.
Right.
It just doesn't really ring true with reality to me. Some of their
Mm,
motivations don't really make any sense.
yeah.
Uh, there's almost no karate in this movie. Um,
Good point,
Miyagi
actually. Yeah.
Miyagi catches an arrow that's shot at him at one point.
Right.
Just these some random thoughts here.
Yeah.
There's three bad guys toward the end. They randomly bungee jump from the rafters of like a gym in front of everybody at prom for no reason. It's not like they did that so that they could attack people. They just randomly in unison bungee jump.
It was bizarre.
Yeah, there's just so much weird about this film, and I just cannot get into it. There's also a
Yeah.
lot of times where I was laughing out loud, when it wasn't for comedy. It's
Oh,
like
right.
so
Sure.
bad it's not good. So anyway, yeah, I can't really support this film.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, like that's the beauty of this podcast, right? You'll get two
Yeah,
different perspectives on some of these movies where I came away going, "Hey, I thought that was actually a pretty fun movie," and you were like, "This is just atrocious." So that's fun. That's fun. I love it. I love it. It's
it's not a
great.
0 star. You made some good points. So we'll
Sure.
talk about that in our rankings.
Okay. Cool. Cool.
Yeah,
Excellent. All right. Great. All right. Let's move on now to uh, 2 decades later, basically, June 11th, 2010, The Karate Kid was released. Yes, a new film, a remake of the original, or some say reboot. I guess now that Legends is out, I guess you could say sidequel. It's like a sequel, but it's like off to the side here. Um, I mean, look, this is an interesting movie because it is essentially remaking the first film, but with all new characters, all new locations, and so it's sort of it's using that formula of the first one, right? Kid moves, gets bullied, has to learn karate, that kind of idea, and kind of remixing it for a modern audience. I think it is really successful at that. It's got a runtime of 2 hours, um, budget of 40 million, gross $359 million. I mean, this is a
wow.
huge hit. I mean, this is incredible what they were able to do here. And I guess it had been enough time. I think that was the key, right? I think with especially 3 and 4, it was like that was just so quick, and it was just it was diminishing returns. And so here they really took their time. They've developed this for a long time. Um, Will Smith and Jada Smith developed this film for Jaden, their son, specifically. And so, really interesting. It's definitely again a remake of the original, but it has its own identity, more modern sensibilities, faster pacing, very colorful movie. Really well shot. It's shot in China, Beijing, um, and so I like this. I like this idea because um, it, it's a younger character too. That's something that sets it apart. It's not a teenager who can drive, who's like about to graduate high school. This is
Yeah.
like a 12, 13-year-old kid. Um, and so that kind of raises the stakes a little bit right there, and that it's a younger kid in danger. Um, but it's kids his age still. It's not like some older kid kind of picking on him or anything like that. So I think they handle everything really well here, from the writing to the cinematography to the action. Jaden Smith, I just think he's really talented. I think he's
Hmm.
really got chops when it comes to acting. He emotes very well. He can be funny and silly, but he can also be very serious and dramatic, and he just delivers. And this is, of course, building off of what he did in The Pursuit of Happiness. It's his second movie, and
Yeah, it's a great film too.
yeah, it is, and he just nails it. He does a great job. Of course, his mentor here is Jackie Chan as Mr. Han, new character who's sort of the stand-in for Miyagi, and similar kind of setup. They move into this apartment complex. He's the handyman. He kind of catches wind of what's going on. I like, the opening scene with him. It very much mirrors that scene with Miyagi where he's kind of eating, and he's kind of being bothered by the kid, and he kind of isn't talking to him at all. And he's trying to get the fly with the chopsticks, and then he just uses the fly swatter. That was a great
Great callback.
callback,
Yeah.
but also making us realize, okay, this is not the same story. This is a new kind
Yeah,
of take on this whole
exactly.
idea. So it's a great way to visualize that. Again, he's got the wisdom of Miyagi. He's got the humor. I mean, Jackie Chan's known for comedy, but he really gets to kind of be more subdued here, and plays a much more grounded type of a character,
Hmm.
and does a great job, of course, with all the action. He's just as fast as he ever was, and it's always great to see him use all those skills. Taraji P. Henson plays the mom. I think she's great in that role as well. All the young actors do a great job. The bully is really believable in his role, and the young girl he meets is really cute, and they have a fun kind of relationship. And so it does a great job, again, taking that whole idea of the original of it's all about characters and building these relationships, and then the martial arts action is kind of secondary. But the martial arts action here is really better than it's ever been.
Yes.
And I'm sure Jackie Chan had a big, part to play in that. And so again, more great training montages, more great kind of even bigger kind of vistas of the countryside of China and all these different things, the Great Wall, and we got to see all these amazing sights over there. And again, a fantastic finale. The tournament, I think, is as exhilarating as it's ever been, up there with the first one for me. I mean, as far as just the way it's all executed and the way it all plays out. This is the first one I saw in theaters,
Mm.
as I mentioned, and this is the first time I remember being in a theater where everyone cheered at the end. I mean, everyone lost it. I mean, we were in the theater and just people start screaming and applauding, and I mean, it was awesome.
Wow.
It was such a great
Hmm.
theater experience. I still remember it vividly to this day. So this movie does everything right. I mean, really, I think this just nails it, nails what a good remake does. It kind of follows the formula, but makes it its own. You know, it's maybe a little too many callbacks, maybe, but I think most of them work pretty well. And so, Bert, give us your thoughts on this remake or reboot of the Karate Kid.
Yeah, a lot of similar thoughts. I think we get probably the best fight scene. Yeah, I mean, the series hasn't really been an action series. It's been
Right.
more comedy drama. But that scene on the streets when Jackie's defending himself.
Yeah.
We've done a Jackie Chan podcast. I'm a
That's
huge
right.
Jackie Chan fan.
Yes, me
So,
too.
we got another great scene of him doing some just not just the karate, but the way he uses all the objects around him,
Yes.
kind of like John Wick does, and that kind of
Yes.
thing.
Right.
And it's so much fun. So that's great. This is just great casting. I mean, who you gonna
Yeah.
you want to sort of retell Karate Kid Part One? Who's gonna play
Mhm.
Mr. Miyagi? Who's gonna pull that off?
Right.
And it's not quite. as good as the work with Pat Morita, and the script's
Right.
not that dead on, but
Yeah.
it's a great casting. I mean, who else are you gonna? I don't think you're gonna do better than that.
No.
Um, Same with Jaden Smith. Yeah, he's really good for not being, he's not a grown adult, so he
Mhm.
does the karate really well. In
Mhm.
fact, that final kick to win the tournament that he does the flip and then
Yeah.
kicks the guy. I mean, that's almost as good as the crane kick because it's
Yeah.
pretty incredible
It's really cool.
athleticism.
It
And
is.
I looked into that, and apparently he really did do that kick.
Wow.
Now, I don't know if he maybe had a wire on him. That's possible, but it
Sure.
doesn't
Right.
look like it. You can usually
Doesn't.
tell.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's some great stuff.
Yep.
I thought the romance was a little forced. Didn't
Yeah.
work a lot for
Yeah.
me.
They're a
But
little
this,
young. It's kind of odd.
right, right. It's just interesting because you've got Mr. Han. He's instead of wax on, wax off, he's doing take off
Jacket
jacket, put
on.
it on.
Right. Right.
And I get it that he literally teaches a slightly different style,
Yeah.
especially as we
Yeah.
find out in the
I
most
was
recent movie.
right. I was going to mention this should be technically titled The Kung Fu Kid because he actually had no karate in the movie.
Right, right, right. I felt like the newer movie actually helped in the regard,
Yes.
it helped explain. It's almost like that would have been better information. The fact that this is different, so that's why it's a
Yep.
jacket instead of
Yep.
waxing something. Like
Right.
almost makes more sense now in 2025.
Exactly. Yep.
There's a really good musical score that kind of expands in the original, and the locales are really beautiful. Where they're
Mm.
filming. So,
Mhm.
I mean, this is just I just agree with you. This is a really good remake.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Had a blast with it in theaters, and I've watched it several times since, and it holds up. It holds up really well. So very entertaining, good film. All right, so that's Karate Kid the remake. Now we're gonna jump in before we jump into the new movie. There's a very important series that was released called Cobra Kai. And it was originally, I think, a YouTube series, and then
Hmm.
Netflix bought it. Is that what happened?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so really interesting show. I watched, I want to say at least the first three or four. Is there? I think this is the sixth season. It just came
There's
out.
6 seasons. Yeah,
Yeah. See, I haven't
65
seen.
episodes.
Wow. Yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
seen the most recent, at least the most recent season. I can't remember if I watched season five or not, but I really liked it. I really liked it. I think again, there's sort of diminishing returns a little bit for the show, a lot like the original movie run. Um, but I liked what I saw. I liked a lot of it. I liked a lot of the characters. I liked, as we mentioned earlier, recontextualizing Johnny as like he kind of becomes the protagonist of the show, right? I mean, he's really that's why it's called Cobra Kai. And LaRusso is kind of weaved into it as well.
Hmm.
And so we get to see the whole thing from a different perspective, and that relationship develops in interesting ways, and all the young kids that are training under them, their relationship dynamics are really interesting, and so I enjoyed a lot of it. Again, I just haven't finished it. I'd like to go back and finish watching it, um, but a lot of what I liked, what I saw I liked, because it's a high quality show. First of all, you can tell it has a decent budget, and the performances and writing I think is really solid. They paid direct homage to those original movies in the ways they should, but moved the characters forward in interesting ways that are unexpected. And so I quite have liked it. Have you seen all of it, Bert? Are you
I've seen all of it.
okay?
It's
Cool.
I'm gonna guess about 45 hours
Wow.
in total.
Awesome.
Yeah, and as you alluded to it, this one flips the script. It's from Johnny's perspective. It's the theory of Daniel was the real bully, not
Right.
Johnny. I mean,
Right.
this plays this all out, right? And that's
Right.
the life that Johnny's living.
Yes. And
It's
he
it's sort
also
of
mentions the illegal crane kick. That
yes,
his whole thing is that crane kick wasn't even legal. He shouldn't have even won. And
exactly.
there's
Yeah.
apparently some merit to that. Actually, I've heard
Oh,
that's
okay,
interesting. I
okay.
don't know, but
Well, it's sort of haunted him now his whole life,
yes,
and so we
right.
we get to see, like, if you fast forward 3, 4 decades, where is he at now?
Yeah,
He's still haunted by this.
right,
Meanwhile, LaRusso is, a fancy, he's got these car dealerships and a lot
right.
of money, and he's always up on billboards throwing in his face.
Yeah, right, right.
He even references the kick in his commercials. So
That's
like Johnny's
right.
constantly being reminded about the low point of his life. And so he decides to reopen Cobra Kai. So
Right.
here's what I'll tell you. I'll just give you some bullet points real quick because we don't get into it a lot. But as I'm sure you've seen if you saw the first 3 4 seasons, there are
Mhm.
some really great brawls and
Yeah.
battles
Oh
in this
yeah.
thing with
Yeah.
some incredible stunts.
Yes.
There's a lot more action, I guess I would say,
Yeah,
than
there
in the
is.
movies. There's
Right.
some great music.
Hmm.
Daniel versus Johnny matchups. There's more than one of those, which
Hmm.
everybody wanted to see.
Right.
There's some great new characters that we get.
Yeah.
There's some really great surprises, some returning
Mhm.
characters. In
That's right.
fact, there's kind of no stone unturned as far as the
Yeah.
returning characters. But
Right.
honestly, I really enjoyed all that stuff.
Yeah.
Even though it's like, okay, now this episode they're going to bring back Mike Barnes or whoever it is,
Right. Right. Right.
and so, but it's stuff like the '80s references.
Yeah.
At one point, Johnny's talking about they're talking about Top Gun and how great. And I think someone says something about Maverick, and he's like, Maverick's not the hero. Of course, he would say that, right?
Right.
Iceman's the
Iceman's
hero
the
because
hero. Yeah.
he's Iceman, right?
Exactly.
So that kind of stuff is really great.
Yeah.
The bad stuff, there is a lot of predictableness. I mean, this entire series you could say that about. So if you don't dig that, then then you won't like it here. But so a lot of times I'm like, well, of course this person won that match or that tournament,
Right.
but it's handled well. There's a lot of
Yeah.
recycled plot,
Yeah.
but and I will say if you saw the first 3 or 4 seasons, that's probably good.
Hmm.
The 5 and 6 aren't terrible, but not nearly as good because again they
Yeah.
have to just still go back to kind of that same recycled
Right.
plot, and I
Right.
kind of had it by then,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can really tell this is a TV show and not a movie.
Yeah.
There's some teen drama, some
Hmm.
soap opera type qualities, but
Right.
honestly, I really sympathize with Johnny watching this, and I tend to relate more to Johnny than Daniel these days.
Interesting. Interesting.
At least as far as how they paint him now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Daniel's a bit of a schmo, and he's this very corporate,
Right.
smug guy, and so. But yeah, there's a lot more I could say, but I really enjoyed it. I mean, despite some of the drawbacks,
Mhm.
if we were rating the series, I would probably give it 4 out of 5.
Wow. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah,
Mhm.
I would rank it pretty high too. Like I said, what I saw I liked. I would be curious to go back and finish it. And yeah, it is neat to see like how they bring the characters back, and sometimes they do surprise you with like, yeah, this guy who was the villain, now he's Danny's friend. Like
Yeah,
they're buddies now, and like and so things you wouldn't expect necessarily like that they do sometimes that I thought was actually pretty interesting. So
yeah, and
excellent.
a quick spoiler alert,
Sure.
but you at least you've seen it. But
Yeah.
the idea that we get Johnny and Daniel and even Chosen
Right.
teaming up against
Yes. Terry
Silver,
Silver.
right?
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
right,
and see, I don't really like him a whole lot,
right.
but Silver made more sense in a TV show, actually. So
Definitely, definitely. I agree.
yeah,
Yeah, and even Martin Cove came back as Kreese.
yeah,
Like
oh yeah,
it's
in a
amazing.
big
Like
way.
like you said, how many characters they got to come back
Yeah,
and kind of reprise their roles years later. It was really fun. So yeah, check it out. Let us know what you think of Cobra Kai if you're a fan. But now it's time to move on to the latest film in the franchise, Karate Kid Legends. It is now in theaters, was just released May 30th, 2025. Budget of 45 million. The gross, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Last I checked, it was doing really well. I
oh
think it was
yeah,
around 20 million already, and that was just opening couple days. So it's doing really well. Hopefully it continues to do well. Runtime of an hour and 34 minutes. Nice tight runtime. And here we have again a continuation of the story and a combination of that what everyone saw as a remake or reboot of the franchise is now kind of folded in to the original series. So it's a direct continuation of all the movies up into this point. Jackie Chan is back as Mr. Han. Ralph Macchio is back as Daniel LaRusso for the first time since Part 3 back in 1989. Of course, he had been doing Cobra Kai over the past several years, but it was cool to see him back on the big screen again. And even that Jackie Chan one, that was 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, 15 years ago
15, right?
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty incredible that they were able to do this. Ben Wang is the new Karate Kid. I think he's fantastic. I think this kid has a lot of potential. I think he's charismatic. He's got some comedy chops. He's obviously very well trained in the martial arts. Really, really impressive stuff that he does here. Um, and again, we have a new setting. I like that, we kind of start in China and Beijing, right? And I guess there will be some spoilers here because I do want to get into the story. So I'll just say I like the movie a lot. You should go watch it. And I'll give you my spoiler thoughts now. So full spoilers from here on out. We start with Mr. Han's school, which I thought was a great idea to start with. He's kind of built this whole school out now. That's what he does. He's Shifu, which means master in Chinese, like sensei means master in Japanese. And actually, let me back up. We start actually with Karate Kid Part Two, which was surprising
Right.
to me. That was a cool
Yeah.
idea that we start there, and Miyagi gives us the whole backstory of where Miyagi karate comes from, and it comes from the Han family, which is a really cool connection that they made
Yeah. I
with
like
these
that.
two characters. I thought that was really smart to tie it all together. And so that was really fun, a really kind of fun animated sequence they did there. I thought that was really visually interesting too. And then we jump to China. Ben Wang as Lee is training, and his uncle is Mr. Han. So Jackie Chan is his uncle, and he's training. And his mom is played by Ming Na Wen, who I'm a big fan of. She's been in a ton of things I've liked. And she doesn't want him to fight. They've got to move to America. She's got a job there. So we're going from Beijing. He's moving to New York. So we've never been to New York in the franchise, which is cool.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
another new setting, which I always like when they do that. And they do a great job building these characters and building the backstory of his character. That was really, really intense. I really wasn't expecting that, but it really worked well for the film and gave it a lot of kind of just emotional resonance. Um, I liked all the supporting characters too. This, young girl he meets and her dad. That was a really unexpected kind of storyline. I was like, okay, so the Karate Kid's gonna train this older guy. That was kind of like a cool way to flip it in a way. I was like, just wasn't expecting it, but I think it worked for the story. And it's a fairly short part of the story, but an important part of the story. And so I like that. Joshua Jackson, I thought, did a great job in his role. Very likable character there. Um, and then the villains again. The villains to me have been the hardest thing for them to get right. I still feel like this villain is a little too like just mean and bad. Like he's just like Johnny
All
was
bad.
sort
Yeah.
right, exactly. Johnny was sort of relatable in a way. Like he
Yeah.
wasn't just straight out evil. Like this kid is just terrible. I mean, he no redeeming qualities really. And you get a
Yeah.
hint of like, yeah, it's the sensei doing it again. You get a little hint of that, but there just wasn't enough of that. Where in the original
Yeah.
film, it really felt like the sensei was really the one driving them to do all this bad stuff.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
they have a difficult time balancing that out. But regardless of that, he still makes for a good antagonist, and he's not in a ton of the movie. It's really focused a lot on the main character Lee and this girl Mia that he's met, and that relationship was great. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of good energy in the movie. It's very, the pacing is really good. Again, the martial arts action I feel like was amped up again. I really felt like they really did some amazing stuff with the martial arts in this movie. And the whole idea of the five boroughs, that whole tournament idea was great. I thought we got just enough of Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio. They weren't overwhelming. I was worried that they were going to overwhelm the film. It was going to be all about them and, like, because that's kind of the draw, right? Is like, we want to see Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio team up, but I'm glad they decided to just tell this new story with these new characters more and focus on that more, and bring in those two figures as the mentors, as and their roles are really even smaller than Mr. Miyagi.
Mhm.
But I thought it was good enough. It was the right amount. I think too much would have been again it would have just distracted from the general story that they were trying to tell. So I liked it a lot. I thought it was really fun. Again, a kind of classic underdog story. They mixed it up enough, had enough of that formula in there, to make it a Karate Kid movie, but they mixed it up enough to make it feel fresh and new. Yeah, I found this to be probably the funniest of all of them. I was really, me and Josh went and saw it. We were cracking up throughout this movie. There's a lot of great one-liners, just great little moments with the characters that really make them, more endearing and just make it a more fun experience. So I was really going into it. I wasn't sure. Like I was like, what is this going to be? Like the trailers were interesting, but didn't really grab me. So I was interested in it. I don't know if I was necessarily like super excited about it, but
Mhm.
man, once I got into the movie, I just really vibed with it and just had a blast. So, Bert, you got to see it over the weekend too. Tell me what you thought.
The problem is that I just come off 45 hours of Cobra Kai, and I didn't watch a single trailer. I
Okay.
just saw the three characters, the three main characters,
Hmm.
and so I thought, oh, I hope there's Cobra Kai in it, and there's
Oh,
one Cobra Kai in it, and that is Daniel. I mean, except for the end scene, right?
very last scene, they snuck Johnny in.
If you can just entertain me for just a second
Sure,
here on
sure.
the plot, the
Hmm.
first act,
Hmm.
was just so bizarre to me.
Okay.
Let me just kind of, from my point of view, okay,
Okay.
this kid's from Beijing, but he
Right.
sounds American because he went to an American school, but now we're in America. Then he randomly helps this middle-aged man return to the sport of boxing. He's a kid, right? But so that, by the way, that fails miserably. And while I'm watching the boxing, I'm going, this is about karate, right? This movie, because we're a few minutes in and we're watching boxing,
Right, right.
and then the boxing thing never applies again. Like it just never factors in again. I'm like,
No,
why did we even go through all that?
right.
Mr. Han randomly flies to New York without really even any reason, um, defies the kid's mom, and immediately says, "You're going to be entering a karate tournament." And the mom's like, the whole movie so far, she's like, "No fighting, absolutely no fighting." And meanwhile, the kid's a fight, like a fight magnet. Like every
Right.
literally every day he gets in a fight, and he's not even trying to.
Right.
And then not only is he, Mr. Han's like, "You're going to be in this tournament." The kid's like, "Okay," and it's in 10 days, but we have to like get training like immediately. And what does he do? He leaves the state for 2 days
Right.
because somehow he's not good enough to train him, I guess. And he goes to recruit Daniel,
Right.
and how he even knows where Daniel is, or that he'd still be in Mr. Miyagi's house 40 years later, or that he would even say yes, or that
Mm,
why are we even in New York? That's like
right.
most of this would have been answered if they just would have said it in LA. It just would have made a lot more
Mm,
sense. Why?
yeah.
Why? There's literally no reason why it needs to be in New York unless
Right.
just some executives said we got to have a pizza scene or something. Like why? Why is it in New York? I was just so frustrated. As you could tell, I was just
Yeah.
very frustrated. I
Mm,
didn't hate it. I mean, the whole time I kind of enjoyed the movie, but I'm going, what? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing
right.
that?
Right.
So I got that off my chest. I again, like you did make some fair points on this one too. I did like a fair bit of the movie.
Mhm,
I just felt it was formulaic.
mm,
I did the action to me. It was too tightly shot, and
mm.
it was almost like I was watching Cloverfield, with a shaky cam at times. So I couldn't even necessarily always see what was going on.
Gotcha.
Um, the editing too is a bit like watching a video game at times.
Mm,
Interesting choice there.
mm,
Um, so I wonder too, maybe there were some scenes missing that would have maybe
mm,
explained things a little better. I don't really know what
mm.
was going on with that. That said, um, anytime you're going to put Jackie Chan in a movie, I'm interested. If it's a Karate Kid movie, I'm definitely interested. So
Right.
I generally enjoyed the whole thing, but I was frustrated, and especially as I look back critically, I was
Mm.
like, wait, why did they do all that stuff? And I could not piece it together. If you can explain it to me, that's great.
Yeah.
But I was just like, it's not bad. I think actually my wife liked it more than I did, probably
Okay.
because I was just
Interesting.
going, I wanted more of this, didn't get that.
Yeah. Right.
But she liked it a lot.
Good.
So I was just frustrated. It wasn't the movie I was hoping that we would get. Okay,
Gotcha.
clearly I wanted a Cobra Kai movie.
Right. Sure. Sure. And I think actually, no, it's a good point you bring that up because that show is so popular, and I think a lot of people are kind of expecting that in a way.
Yeah,
So
because it
you're
just
not
ended.
wrong. I mean,
It
to
just Yeah, it
think
just
that
got
way.
released the last
Yep.
I think it was March or something like that.
Yeah.
We just got the last five
Mm-hmm.
episodes.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so I don't know if people think it's going to be Cobra Kai, but
Right.
they gave us so many characters in 45 hours with these new characters, and
Yeah.
to have none of them in this right after that
Mm-hmm.
last five episodes came out was
Mm-hmm.
just kind of shocking to me. So
It is. It is surprising. It's definitely surprising. I don't know what happened behind the scenes. I mean, apparently, no one involved in Cobra Kai was involved in this outside of Ralph Macchio. It doesn't seem like it, at least. So, yeah, it isn't. It is an odd choice. You're totally right. As someone who, I wasn't maybe as big of a fan of Cobra Kai, and obviously I hadn't watched the last two seasons. Maybe that's why I enjoyed it more. I think that probably plays into it significantly. We talk a lot about expectations going into movies, and
yeah,
it's kind of
yeah.
cool that you hadn't watched a trailer. But again, coming
Hmm.
off of Cobra Kai, you're kind of like, okay, let's pick up the story, and it's like, no, we're gonna go a totally different way. It
Yeah.
is a little odd. I totally agree. It's a strange choice. At the
Yeah,
same time, go ahead.
had Cobra Kai ended 3 years ago, then
Right.
I'd be like, well, that was the Cobra
Yep.
Kai era. But it
Right.
literally just came out.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a strange choice marketing wise. I mean, because again, it's like you got this show. It's like
Build
the
on it.
continuation of the Cobra Kai saga that you've been watching for 6 years. It's like it's right there. I mean, it's like
The culmination.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, it is an odd choice. But again, from the other perspective, people like your wife, like myself, like other just random moviegoers who haven't watched the show are gonna. It's gonna be very easy for us to get involved in this new story with this new character. So
Yeah, yeah.
I get that balance of like you want to
Hmm.
have stuff for the old fans, and that's why I'm sure Ralph Macchio they wanted to bring him back and things like that to kind of bring in the old fans, but you also want to make new fans. So it's a tough balance to strike, and yeah, they maybe didn't quite strike it. The balance, they leaned more towards let's just make it for the new audience and not go the other way. Um, so yeah, interesting stuff. I'm glad you gave us your honest thoughts on it, and I'm excited to see what our audience thinks. What the real world fans think about it because it is an interesting movie, and I enjoyed it a lot. But not everyone's gonna. So it'll be interesting to see what the response is moving forward and how much money it ends up making, and if they make another one and if they
Right.
bring the same kid back. I don't know. I mean, the future is wide open for the franchise at this point. So we'll have to wait and
For the
see.
future, I'd say make another movie with him. I'd probably go
Yeah,
see it, but
yeah,
it's just a weird setup. I mean, and the kid's got talent. He's very
yeah.
athletic. You know,
Yes.
I can't do that kick,
Right. Exactly.
spinning
Right. It's
tornado or
crazy.
whatever he called it.
I know
Yeah.
he does it several times, and I'm like, how is he doing that? It doesn't even make sense, like physically to me. I don't get it. But yeah, excellent stuff. Well, now we've come to the end of the podcast where we rank all of the Karate Kid movies. Bert, do you want to kick us off with your number
Sure.
6 slot? What do you have at the bottom?
So we're going from worst to best, right?
Worst to best. Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's where I'm gonna actually put Karate Kid 3. I'm at 1 star on it. I mean, yeah, it's just a mess to me, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm right there with you. Karate Kid
I don't
Part
hate it.
3
It's not.
is
I can watch it, but it's like this is kind
yeah.
of grating on me. Like that.
Right.
That's the when I watch it. That's what I
Right.
get.
It's not the one I want to revisit. You know what I
No.
mean? It's like
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm right there with you. Number 6, The Karate Kid Part 3. I think I'm at like 2.5 or 3 stars on it. So
Okay.
I don't
Okay. So you
hate
like
it.
all of
I
them?
like all of them. There's not one that I
Gotcha.
really dislike a whole lot. Um, I've got them all. That's why I've got them all on Blu-ray right here. But let's go to number 5 now. What do you have there?
That's where I've got the next Karate Kid.
Okay. Okay.
I'm at
Gotcha.
2 stars on that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, see, here's where it gets hard because I have a lot of these like right around the 3.5, 4 star mark. I really like all these. So I actually ended up putting The Karate Kid Part 2 at number 5.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it just barely, the one right above it just barely edges it out for me. It's really close between those two.
Hmm.
But yeah, I did end up putting Part 2 at the number 5 slot. So what do you have at 4?
That's where I've got Legends, and
Okay.
I've got it at 2.5 stars. I'd say go see it. It's a likable
Hmm.
movie. You know, it's just very
Right.
glossy, kind of Hollywood produced,
Sure.
driven. I felt that was my take on it.
Gotcha. All right. My number 4 is I refer to it as the Kung Fu Kid. The one with Jackie, the first one with Jackie Chan. Yeah, solid movie. Just a really, really great remake.
Hmm.
It reinvents itself in some fun ways. Maybe sticks to the formula a little too close. So that's kind of why I maybe have it a little bit lower than some other people might. But yeah, that's what I have at number four. Bert, what do you have at number three?
Karate Kid Part Two.
Okay.
I'm at
Okay.
3.5 stars on that.
Yeah, that's a fun one. Really like that one a lot too.
Yeah,
For me, number three is Karate Kid Legends. I thought Legends was really
really.
fun. I had a good time watching it in the theater. I really am excited to watch it again. I'm excited for my brothers to see it. My brothers are all into this franchise too. And so they haven't seen it yet, but I think they're going to go see it soon. So yeah, Legends, I really had a good time with. Bert, you're at number two now.
So I have the Kung Fu Kid,
Okay.
the Karate. What is it? Karate Kid 2010 or whatever we call it.
I don't know. That's
Yeah,
why I call it the Kung Fu Kid to differentiate it. But it's Karate Kid
I like it.
2010, I guess, is technically the title.
Yeah, and I'm probably at 4 stars on that. The funny thing is, this is one of my favorite series of all time. Um, but especially bolstered by if you include Cobra Kai. But I think my
Mm,
rankings are probably lower than yours. But I
right.
definitely enjoy. I can watch all of these films, and I think next time I probably will do a repeat watch at some point of all of
Yeah.
these, and I'll probably even include the bad ones.
Sure. Sure.
So
Yeah. It's kind of funny. Like the bad ones make you enjoy the good ones a little bit more. You know what I mean?
yeah, and there's
Um,
enough nuggets that round
right.
out the universe, so you don't want to miss
Exactly.
those. Yeah.
Totally true. Well, my number two is the next Karate Kid. I really had a blast with that movie. I was just really surprised by it. I really liked the character arc. I liked the monastery angle. All the monks I thought were
Yeah.
really fun and funny. And Pat Morita just knocks it out of the park again. So that's where I have that one. And then let's say it together. At number one, The
The Karate
Karate
Kid.
Kid, the original. You can't beat it. It's the best. One of the greatest movies of all time. I have it at 5 stars because I mean, it's like a movie like that. How do you get better? I mean, than that. I mean, it's really that and Rocky, like for me, are just right up there with some of the best
Yeah,
movies.
I'm with you. It's 5 star. There's really no knock on it, and even the way it finishes and
Yeah,
comedy. It's like almost like an adventure story.
yeah,
You got the school bully stuff. It's very
yes,
well rounded.
it is.
Great film.
Yeah, excellent. Well, that's it, folks. That's our ranking. That's our review of the entire Karate Kid franchise. Let us know your review in the comments down below. Make sure you include your rankings as well. We want to know how you rank these movies. Follow Bert and I on Letterboxd. Follow The Real World on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We are all there talking movies all the time. Bert, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks, Cam. It was great.
All right, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified of all our videos, and we'll see you next time right here on The Real World.